40 Acres by Dwayne Alexander Smith.
Martin Gray stared out the backseat window at the crowd of reporters on the Foley Square courthouse steps as the driver pulled the Lincoln Towne car to a stop.
Martin watched as the first few newsmen noticed his arrival and bolted over, pursued by the rest. Martin couldn't believe it. The small civil rights lawsuit that he begun working on 2 years ago had blown up into the biggest case of his career.
And today was the finale, the closing arguments, Martin's last chance to sway the jury and win justice for his client, not to mention a hefty payday of $25 million. As Martin stepped from the Towne car, the reporters closed in like vultures.
Do you really think you have a chance against Damon Durrell?
Is it true Durrell offered you a last-minute deal?
Is Durrell the toughest attorney you've ever faced?
There it was. The reason this case had skyrocketed into the media stratosphere. Damon Durrell, superstar attorney, jet setter, and minor celebrity, was the opposing counsel. Every case that the flamboyant yet brilliant Durrell touched turned into the media circus.
Especially a case like this. Martin's client was suing his employer of 20 years, AutoStone Industries, the largest manufacturer of automobile tires in the world, for blatant acts of racial discrimination.
The evidence seemed insurmountable, but in a shrewd maneuver, AutoStone retained not just a brilliant attorney, but a brilliant African-American attorney to mount its defense.
I prefer to reserve my comments for today's closing arguments. Thank you.
As Martin continued towards the entrance, a man shouted above the rest.
Martin recognized that voice. He glanced back and spotted an impeccably dressed black man standing just outside the crush of reporters, flashing a familiar sly grin. Martin watched the reporters turn in unison to focus their electronics on the naturally telegenic Damon.
Are you going to win, Mr. Durrell?
What's your confidence level, Mr. Durrell?
Damon raised his hands to stifle the barrage of questions like a holy man beckoning his flock to order.
I only have one comment, and that's for Mr. Gray. Be careful today. I still have a few surprises for you.
Of course you do. Why would today's sideshow be different from any other day?
Today I bring out my big guns. That's what's different, Mr. Gray.
Cut.
Damon wasn't kidding about bringing out the big guns. After Martin's concise 25-minute summation, the entire courtroom sat enthralled as Damon Durrell delivered a closing that rivaled a one-man Broadway show. Retaking his seat, Damon flashed Martin a smile that said,
"Let's see you top that, kid."
Mr. Gray, it's 11:45. Would you like to begin your rebuttal now or wait till after lunch?
Your Honor, if Mr. Gray would like to push back lunch so that he can deliver his closing, I'd be more than happy to comply, although my stomach might be less forgiving.
Mr. Gray, how would you like to proceed?
I'm ready to proceed now, Your Honor.
Are you requesting a postponement of lunch?
No, that will not be necessary.
You now only have 15 minutes. Are you sure, Mr. Gray?
Absolutely sure, Your Honor.
Very well. Proceed.
My colleague took an hour and a half to try to convince you of what he claimed was in my client's mind. Something we can never know for sure. But what we do know for sure, what even Mr. Durrell agrees with, is that the video evidence clearly shows that my client, Mr. Watson, was a victim of repeated racial bias. I don't need an hour and a half because the truth is plain to see. You know what justice requires of you. Thank you.
As Martin strode back to his seat, he noticed that Damon's ever-present smirk had vanished, replaced by an expression he had never seen on his opponent's face before: uncertainty. That was all the reassurance Martin needed.
The party filled the Jamaica Queens storefront law offices of Gray and Grossman. Martin and his partner Glenn Grossman had shared the cramped space with the two clerks they employed for nearly 3 years.
Why are you hiding in the corner?
Martin turned and saw Glenn Grossman approaching with his wife Lisa in tow.
Woo!
Both were holding drinks and were a little tipsy.
This is all for you, amigo. You should be out there celebrating.
I'm just taking it all in, savoring the moment. Besides, this party isn't just for me. This is for us, partner. This is going to blow up Gray and Grossman big time. I hope you're ready.
Oh, he's ready, all right. I just caught him at his computer searching for new office space on Craigslist.
Yeah, that was Glenn, all right. Big dreams and an endless supply of energy to turn them into reality. Martin had met Glenn while attending the NYU School of Law. Martin was an African-American fresh out of Spelman College. Glenn was a New York Jew with an NYU undergraduate degree.
Hey, what's Anna doing?
Stop the music. I have something to read.
Even in the simplest of dresses, Anna looked stunning. Every time Martin looked at her, he still couldn't believe that Anna was his wife.
I just printed this from the home page of the Law Watch. It's about Martin.
Law Watch was the #1 legal website in the world. Anna flashed a smile across the room at Martin, then began to read.
Lawyers on both sides of the Watson versus Autostone race discrimination trial on Thursday delivered their closing argument to 8 jurors, capping 2 weeks of testimony in the highly publicized courtroom battle. Defending Autostone, the esteemed Damon Durrell was in his usual impeccable form. He delivered a 45-minute point-by-point closing. But in a surprising turn, the opposing attorney, Martin Gray, delivered his closing in less than 2 minutes, a daring appeal to the jury's common sense that brought down Durrell's case like a collapsing circus tent. Then 20 minutes after the lunch recess, the jury returned a verdict in the prosecution's favor, $250,000 in compensatory and $25.5 million in punitive damages. The verdict is certain to be appealed, but this David versus Goliath tale is already the break room hot topic in every law firm in the land. With one king wing of his slingshot, Martin Gray has thrust his tiny Queens firm of Gray and Grossman into the legal spotlight. I'm so proud of you, baby.
Martin, I had no idea your wife was so beautiful.
Everyone turned and stared at the sharply dressed man standing in the doorway holding 2 bottles of Dom Perignon and wearing the biggest smile ever.
Who invited him?
The crowd parted instinctively as Damon crossed the room to Martin.
I just wanted to stop by and convey my congratulations. Not at all. What happens during the trial is all business, right? Nothing personal. I'm here as a fellow attorney who admires your work. You're one hell of a trial lawyer.
Thanks. You're not so bad yourself.
Before Martin had a chance to do the honors, Damon introduced himself to Anna. He shook Anna's hand with a seducer's smile, then turned to Martin.
Mr. Gray, if I had known that you possessed the verbal skills to persuade a woman this beautiful to marry you, I never would have underestimated you.
Hi, I'm Martin's partner, Glenn.
Oh, Glenn Grossman. Of course. Nice to finally meet the other half of the dream team. You were on that class action against Texaco last year, weren't you?
Yeah, that was me.
Taxico had been the firm's biggest case before AutoStone surfaced. They settled for $5 million, and Glenn was proud of every penny.
You did a great job. Nice settlement. I doubt I could have done any better.
Yeah, right. I'm sure you would have squeezed twice that out of them.
Which reminds me, Martin, my wife and I are hosting a little dinner party Friday night, and we would love for you and Anna to come. Fair warning, it's ridiculously formal, but the upside is my wife is an amazing hostess.
Surprised, Martin turned to Anna. He could see the excitement in her eyes as well. Durrell's great wealth and circle of celebrity friends were well documented in the tabloids. A chance to mingle in those circles, even for one night, sounded like great fun.
Glenn, I really wish I could invite you and your lovely wife as well. Unfortunately, my wife plans these gatherings down to the smallest detail. I'm only able to squeeze them in because of a last-minute cancellation. I am sorry.
No, that's okay. Maybe next time.
Well, shall I give my wife your RSVP?
I really appreciate the invitation, but I think we'll have to wait till
No. Don't be silly. You two go and have a great time. It's all right. Really.
You guys have to go. Then you can tell us all about it, every detail.
Well, good. Then it's settled. I'll have someone email you the information. I'll see you Friday.
Oh, check that out.
Martin pointed to a sleek black helicopter perched on a stretch of rolling lawn as he drove through the gates of Damon Durrell's Bedford, New York estate. After passing the aircraft, Martin wheeled his Volvo around a broad circular driveway lined with luxury automobiles.
That one cost almost as much as the helicopter.
That's wonderful.
Anna found the perfect Chanel evening gown. The simple black dress was the most expensive piece of clothing that Anna had ever owned. But now, as they wound closer and closer to Durrell's magnificent home, Anna had the sinking feeling that her little Chanel just wasn't enough.
Don't worry, baby. You look fantastic.
You're my husband. You're supposed to say that.
You're right. Actually, you look terrible.
Not funny.
You really do look beautiful.
Thanks. Here we go.
They were all black. That's the first thing that Martin noticed when he and Anna entered the parlor where the other guests were chatting while enjoying wine and hors d'oeuvres. The house was even more beautiful inside than Martin had imagined. But as fantastic as the mansion was, nothing impressed Martin more than the room full of guests. There were 4 other couples besides Martin and Anna in attendance. The men wore perfectly tailored tuxedos. The women were all draped in designer gowns and adorned with glittering jewelry.
And they're all black.
Martin kept mentally repeating to himself. He just wasn't expecting that. Of course, with Damon Durrell hosting, he knew that at least a few of the couples would be of African descent. But all of them? The idea just never entered his mind. The queer smile he got from Anna told Martin that she too was surprised by the complexion of the guest list.
Oh, there they are.
Damon bellowed as he strode across the room with a beautiful woman by his side. Damon thanked them both for coming, then introduced his wife, Juanita. Juanita welcomed them with a smile worthy of a queen and complimented Anna on her gown. Anna countered by praising Juanita's beautiful home, and their hostess seemed genuinely flattered by the comments.
I apologize for rushing off, but there's still a few fires I need to put out, so we'll chat later, okay?
All right, come on. Let me introduce you to everyone. Attention, please. May I present Martin Gray and his beautiful wife, Anna.
A pleasure to meet you. I'm Solomon Aarons, and this is Betty, my wife.
Did you say Solomon Aarons, CEO of AFG?
That's what it says on my door.
Martin couldn't help appearing a little stunned. The financial world wasn't something that he kept track of, but even he knew that American Financial Group was a big deal. After the recent economic meltdown, maybe one of the biggest brokerage firms in Wall Street, and Solomon Aarons, its savior CEO, was known as a financial genius.
Everything okay?
Sorry, well, if I'm being honest.
Say it. You didn't know that the CEO of AFG was black.
He's right. I mean, I've heard of you, but wow, I had no idea.
No need to apologize, young man. Believe me, I'm quite used to it.
Anna, did you know Solomon Aarons was a black man?
Of course I did, baby. He was featured in Time and in Fortune last year.
Ooh, good for you, young lady. Looks like us girls take the early lead tonight.
A man sporting a mane of shoulder-length dreadlocks, wire-rimmed glasses, and an African beaded necklace over his tux stepped forward and laid a sympathetic hand on Martin's shoulder.
Don't sweat it, my brother. The sad truth is 57% of black males over the age of 30 would not even be able to name the CEO of any corporation.
Is that a fact? I must admit I've never heard that statistic before. I wonder if the numbers would be different for whites.
Now there's an interesting question. Kwame Jones, this is my queen, a lady.
Kwame is a co-owner of one of the biggest advertising firms in the country. They specialize in the African American market. So you want to sell something to black people, you got to go through him.
Got it. That explains the statistics.
True. And to answer your question, the white male in the exact same economic subset is far more likely to be familiar with.
Kwame, for Christ's sakes, give the man a chance to anesthetize himself with a few drinks before you pummel him with one of your social science lectures.
Fine. Just trying to elevate the conversation a little.
Damon introduced Tobias Stewart, founder and owner of Tobias Media. They owned and operated an insane number of cable networks, radio stations, and newspapers in every corner of the United States and Europe. The svelte beauty dangling from Tobias's arm was his wife, Margaret.
I'm 10 grand richer because of you.
I'm glad I could help, but I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
I placed a little bet on the trial. I knew Damon couldn't win it all.
You bet on the trial? I didn't even know that was possible.
You got to get out of the courtroom more often, counselor. People will bet on anything. You just got to know who's taking action.
Let me guess. I was 1,000 to 1 shot and you dropped $10 on me.
Nah, it wasn't that lopsided, but close. Hey, I tell you what. Next time you got a sure winner, you give me a call. I'll cut you a percentage.
Thanks, but no thanks. Disbarment's not exactly good for business.
You're all right for a lawyer.
Thanks.
Finally, Damon introduced the last couple, Carver Lewis and his wife, Starsha. They were the youngest couple at the party. For Martin, Carver Lewis needed no introduction. Carver was a high-profile real estate speculator who had found a lucrative niche by specializing in what some of his competitors called insanely risky deals. Then Carver got really clever. Instead of selling properties, Carver began to peddle his reputation as a real estate guru. Martin remembered reading somewhere that Carver Lewis had made 10 times the money from his late-night infomercials than he had ever made with his broker's license.
I recognize you from TV. You're very convincing.
Thanks. I think. I'm not sure convincing is a compliment.
I just mean that you're a good salesman.
Well, the only thing I'm selling is a way for ordinary people to dramatically improve their quality of life. It's a legitimate business like anything else. I've made quite a few people rich. No convincing needed.
I'm happy for you. In fact, you totally sold me. Do you take Amex or MasterCard?
That's funny. No, that's real damn funny.
Carver, enough.
Don't mind Carver here. He works too hard. I keep telling him, relax. Take it easy.
What do you mean? Easy's my middle name.
So, is everybody nice and hungry?
As the dinner went on, it struck Martin that several of his fellow guests almost seemed to be studying him. Whenever he looked from his plate, he would notice one or more of the men watching him, not in a glancing way, but in a more intent, inquisitive way. There was even an awkward moment when a passing glance at Carver turned into a brief staring contest.
Flooded with self-consciousness, Martin finally looked away. What the hell was going on? Had he said something wrong? Anna, seated opposite Martin, shot him a look across the table that asked,
"Are you okay?"
Martin pivoted his face side to side to show both cheeks and gestured to the front of his tux, hoping his wife might spot a crumb or stain that would explain the odd attention. Anna shook her head and silently mouthed the words,
"Relax. You're fine."
Anna's reassurance had the effect of a soothing neck rub. She was right, of course. In such distinguished company, who wouldn't feel a little paranoid?
Chill out, Mr. Gray.
A little voice in his head said. Then Martin picked up his wine glass and took a long, relaxing sip.
After dinner, the husbands and wives split into two separate groups. The wives retired to the living room for after-dinner cocktails, while the men followed Damon down a long hallway to what he called his game room. It was a rich man's playpen. Plush leather furniture, vintage pinball machines, a high-tech home theater setup, a beautiful hand-carved billiards table, and the centerpiece of it all, a fully stocked bar that would rival the city's finest watering holes.
Martin noticed framed photographs hanging on the wall behind the bar. Shots of Damon, Solomon, Tobias, and Kwame on various whitewater rafting trips. The changing waistlines and hairstyles visible in the different photographs told Martin that these images were taken over the span of at least a decade. Carver appeared in several of these vacation shots as well, but only the more recent ones. Martin guessed that the oldest photograph that included Carver was only about 3 years old.
You ever been whitewater rafting?
Martin was a city boy, born and bred. The closest he ever came to whitewater rafting was a thrill ride at Great Adventure Amusement Park called Roaring Rapids, and he'd hated that.
Nope. Not much whitewater in New York.
We sneak away a few times a year. Nice change of pace, you know.
Looks fun.
Oh, it's fun, all right. I can honestly say it has changed my life. And over here are my most significant possessions.
Damon led Martin to a large glass display cabinet. They took up an entire wall and looked like the sort of thing that you would find in a museum. And indeed, the strange array of items inside the cabinet would be right at home in a museum. Heavy iron restraints, rusted and corroded with age, chains, leg irons, wrist shackles, steel collars, wooden neck and wrist stocks, crude medieval hardware, all used for one purpose. Martin knew what the items were for before Damon spoke.
All of these objects were used to capture and imprison African slaves. These very devices may have been used on my ancestors. Or yours.
Staring at the items, Martin couldn't help wondering what it would feel like to be burdened with one of those inhuman devices, to be collared like a wild animal. The mere thought sickened him.
Why do you collect those things?
A reminder, a motivator. Black men have an anger in them. Many are consumed by that anger and it ruins them. It's undeniable. Just watch the nightly news or visit a prison. All my life, I've used that anger to drive me.
At the center of the display, a framed antique document glowed in the beam of a warm spotlight. The paper was tinged and cracked with age. The old-style cursive writing was faded and difficult to read.
You know what this is?
Looks like some sort of contract.
That's right. It's the contract used to purchase my great-great-grandfather when he was first brought over here on a slave ship. It's hard to make out, but that's him right there.
How in the world did you find this?
Wasn't as hard as you think. They documented everything back then. Of course, it was pure luck that the document was still around.
Martin stared at the antique contract with new eyes. He knew intellectually that the slave trade had been a thriving and very lucrative industry, but to stand before a legal record of such cruelty was, for a lawyer, a vivid reminder of how integrated African bondage had been with everyday American life for centuries.
Inspiring, isn't it? Our ancestors were dragged here in chains. Now look at us.
When Martin turned, he noticed that the other men were all watching him, fixed on him.
Every man in this room could buy the bastards who enslaved our forefathers 1,000 times over.
I'll drink to that shit.
Damon and Martin walked over to join in on the toast as Crystal clinked. Martin had to admit to himself that he had been more than a little intimidated when he first walked in the door and found himself in the company of some of the most powerful men in the country. Who was he really? A storefront lawyer with some recent success, but nothing compared to these titans. But at that moment, in the presence of a ghost that haunted all of their pasts, he was beginning to feel like he belonged.
It is inspiring. Especially now that we have a black president. I say something wrong?
Not wrong, just ignorant. And I mean that in the truest sense of the word, brother. Not an insult.
You're saying nobody here voted for Obama?
Of course we did. You're missing the point.
Okay. What is the point?
Look, we all support Brother Barack, but there's a bigger picture. And in that bigger picture, his presidency does more harm than good.
I can't wait to hear what you mean by that.
Have a seat, Martin, and allow us to enlighten you.
The women were all gathered in a cozy sitting room decorated with Durrell family photos.
Your Martin seems like a wonderful man. You're very lucky.
So, what do you think? Will they ask him? Martin seems to fit right in.
It's hard to tell, but Martin does seem like the perfect candidate.
Perfect candidate for what? Oh, what? What is it?
You see, Damon and the fellas have this little club. Every 3 months or so, they go on these so-called male bonding trips to prove how macho they are.
Where do they go on these trips?
Would you believe whitewater rafting?
Wait, you mean like those flimsy little rubber boats?
That's right. No river guide, no survival expert along with them either. Just a group of black desk jockeys splashing around on some violent river in the middle of nowhere. Have you ever heard of anything so crazy?
That does sound a little dangerous.
Yeah, well, you just try telling them that. Sure, they'll swear it's safe, but you know men, always pushing to prove their manliness.
She's right. Oh, and that especially applies to the ones who just push papers all day. I've seen actual studies. Men are so damn dense.
From their faces, Anna could tell that these wives had been down this road 1,000,000 times.
We can't stop them. So instead, we found our own distraction.
Oh, and what's that?
When they go on one of their little jaunts, we take a little trip of our own. A shopping trip. Paris, Rome, Milan.
What, halfway around the world? Just
we get in a few sites and museums between boutiques, but shopping is key. Wouldn't you believe how it calms the nerves? Right, ladies?
Yes.
So, what do you think about Dubai? That's where we're thinking of going next.
You really think they'll ask Martin?
Are you kidding? Damon will ask him for sure. If only to have Martin around so he can have some revenge. My Damon's not a good loser.
Damon refreshed everyone's drink, then rejoined the other men in the sitting area. Martin was the only one seated with his back to a wall. So, despite the fact that the sofa and chairs were arranged in a cozy, informal circle, Martin could not shake the irrational notion that all the men were facing him. He almost felt as if he were on trial.
Look at it this way. Now that Barack's in office, a lot of white people are thinking, now we even. Now we can forget slavery and racism is finished. Our hands are finally clean. Of course, everyone in this room knows that that's far from the truth. Not even close.
The Zimmerman case is a perfect example.
Exactly. Or how the Supreme Court recently gutted the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Some protesters gave their life to get that bill passed.
Look, I agree with everything said, but you guys can't deny that electing a black president is a huge step forward.
Think about it, brother. The accumulated wealth and power of the Caucasian race is so vast that it would take centuries for us to even get close. When you put it all in perspective, Barack's election is just a drop in the bucket of history. A significant drop, no doubt, but still just a drop.
Damn straight. It's going to take a hell of a lot more than just sticking a black man in the White House to even up the score.
I'm not sure I see things quite that way.
Really? And what way would that be exactly?
You know, that attitude that white people owe us something, our energies are better focused on the here and now, on improving for this generation and the next, not on trying to be compensated for an injustice committed centuries ago.
Brother, you're either living in a dream or you're a goddamn chicken with your head cut off. How could we talk to this man?
Let's say you owned a truck and the crook stole it. If that crook is caught years later, would you feel that he owed you anything?
Sure, he'd owe me a truck.
Now, what if you couldn't afford another truck? What if the loss of that truck resulted in you and your family living in poverty while at the same time that crook used that stolen truck to make his family wealthy? When that crook is caught, does he still just owe you just a truck?
I see where you're going with this, but I think your analogy is too simple for something as vast and complex as slavery in America.
Are you sure about that, Mark? Let me frame it in real terms. In 1889, 20 years after slavery was abolished, the United States government opened up the Oklahoma Territory to any American citizen who wanted to go west and tame the land. Imagine that, Mark. Free land. Now, do you think that our ancestors were allowed to participate in that bonanza? Of course not. Do white families to this very day profit from that land rush?
You better fucking believe it.
And that's just one example. American history is littered with events in which our ancestors were robbed of opportunities that white people profited from. Now, I'm not sitting here asking you to change the way you think or what you believe in. I'm just asking you to consider what I'm saying and decide if there's any truth in it.
Martin couldn't deny that Solomon's argument stirred something inside him, an uneasiness that felt almost like fear, as if he was being forced to confront some terrible suppressed memory that he kept walled off for his entire life.
Will you? Will you think about it, Mark?
Of course. You have an interesting way of looking at things. It's very persuasive.
Oh, please. Old Solomon here is just a lightweight. You should hear Dr. Kazim lay down the science. That man will make your ears tingle.
Martin noticed that the instant Tobias mentioned Dr. Kasim, the other men shot him a scolding look, like a group of monks who had just heard the Lord's name spoken in vain.
Who's Dr. Kazim?
Dr. Kazim is hard to describe. I guess you could call him an underground philosopher.
Underground philosopher? Has he written anything I might have heard of?
Dr. Kasim has written many books, brother, but you're not going to find them in a local bookstore.
Okay. Does he have a website, YouTube videos, a Facebook page? What?
The men shook their heads, as if mentioning Dr. Kasim in the same breath with the internet was the craziest thing they had ever heard.
Actually, Martin, I'm a little surprised that you've never heard of Dr. Kasim. I mean, considering your activism in college. Don't look so surprised. You think I became the best lawyer in the universe by sitting on my ass? Preparation is everything. I probably know more about you than your own mother.
And you're probably right. If my mother had known half the crap that I was up to on campus, she would have had a total breakdown.
Look, the point I'm trying to make is that it seems as though someone as involved as yourself would have at least heard of Dr. Kazim.
So this Dr. Kazim is an activist as well, then?
Activist, motivator, educator, all those things and more.
The brother is a straight-up genius. His ideas nurture the black soul.
I'll tell you one thing. No one on this planet has inspired me more. No one.
As Martin listened, a troubling question formed in his mind. His first notion was to let it pass, but his desire to know the answer burned as hot as the sincerity in Damon's eyes.
Don't take this the wrong way, but what do you think Dr. Kazim would say about your law practice?
Well, I assume you mean because I frequently defend corporate conglomerates against racial discrimination suits, am I right?
Yes. Especially, it seems, in cases where the plaintiffs are African American. You know as well as I do that Some of these companies blatantly take advantage of minorities, and yet you allow them to use you to put up a good front. From what I've heard tonight, that seems to go against everything you believe in. So why do you do it?
Hold my drink. That is an excellent question. Please excuse me for answering your question with a question. What do you think would happen if I turned down those cases? Even better, what if every conscientious Black attorney refused to defend any corporation accused of racial discrimination?
Those corporations would lose more often. I know that much.
True. But what I'm getting at is this. Those corporations would just turn around and hire a white firm.
So let them. At least they're not putting up a false front of diversity to confuse the jury.
No. You're not seeing the big picture, son.
You gotta look deeper, brother. It's not as simple as black and white.
Well, not much ever is.
Think about it like this. My firm employs over 24 lawyers. Every last one of them is Black and a millionaire. In a slow year, our billing easily exceeds 100 million. Every year, I donate 25% of my firm's profits to numerous Black charities, college funds, food programs, recreation centers, housing initiatives, even campaign contributions to Black politicians.
That's very impressive. I had no idea.
I don't do it for the publicity, Martin. I do it to reach back and help my people. But here's the thing. If those corporations pay their multi-million-dollar legal fees to a white firm instead of me, none of that amazing stuff happens. What the corporations siphon away from our people with their discriminatory practices, I make back tenfold when they get my invoice. What would Dr. Kazim say about my practice? I'll tell you what he told me personally. Keep up the positive work, brother.
Martin took this in silence. Then something chilling occurred to him, something that made his guts tighten.
Are you saying that you lost to me on purpose?
Did it seem like I was taking a dive?
Well, no, but maybe.
Think about it. Doesn't matter if I win or lose. My bill's the same. Why would I risk ruining everything I've built? Hurt the people I want to help. Trust me, Martin. When I step into a courtroom, I fight with every ounce of my ability to win for my client. But I will tell you this. In my heart, I'm always pulling for the little guy. I was rooting for you the whole time, Martin. And you did not disappoint. Now, those racist bastards have to pay twice.
Martin tried to smile in agreement, but he still had an uncomfortable feeling in the pit of his stomach.
Oh, relax. Sympathizing with your opponent isn't unethical.
And besides, we have one unbreakable rule. Anything said between us stays between us. Is that cool with you?
They all watched Martin, waiting for his answer. Martin understood why. These were important men. They were titans of industry, African-American role models, men under constant scrutiny by the media and the government. They had reputations to protect and images to uphold. Martin did not feel that anything they discussed was hateful or malicious, but Martin could see how outside that smoke-filled room, the complexion of their words and ideas could be misinterpreted in ways that could harm them all.
Agreed.
Mazel tov.
The titans of industry smiled and puffed their cigars and drained their glasses, and Martin couldn't help feeling that he had passed some sort of test. Okay, how was it? I want to hear everything that happened.
It was fun. A lot of fun.
Come on, you can do better than that. I've been waiting all morning to hear this.
What do you want me to tell you? Damon's house was amazing. The food was unbelievable.
No. Who was there? Any possible future clients with bottomless pockets?
Martin ran down the list of guests. With each name, Glenn's eyes grew wider and wider.
Solomon Aarons, too. What was he like?
Brilliant. You can just sense it, like an old wise man.
And now I get it.
Get what?
All the guests at Damon's party were African American. Come on, you had to notice that.
I did. So
don't you get it? That's probably the real reason Damon didn't invite me. Lisa and I would have been the only white couple there.
Martin was about to deny it, but he couldn't. Up until that moment, Martin hadn't made the connection between the power chat in Damon's game room and Glenn's exclusion from the party. Not explicitly, but now, hearing it aloud, Martin saw it clearly.
Hey, don't think Damon did it maliciously or anything. He probably just didn't want us to feel awkward. Know what I mean?
Sure. I guess that's possible.
So, what did all you big shots talk about?
Martin tensed. It wasn't that he feared that anything discussed would upset Glenn. In fact, he was pretty sure that Glenn would agree with most of what was said. What kept Martin silent was his promise. Martin gave his word to a room full of very powerful men to keep their discussion private, and he wasn't about to break it. That and the fact that Glenn was terrible at keeping his mouth shut.
We just discussed the case mostly.
Come on, all those power brokers under one roof? They had to talk about more than just your case. Give it up, partner.
Actually, Tobias Stewart and Kwame Jones expressed interest in steering some business our way.
Bingo. That's what I wanted to hear. Martin, do you know what this means?
Oh, well, slow down. Nothing certain yet, could just be party talk.
Either way, we have to be prepared, right? I mean, if those heavy hitters see this dump, they may get second thoughts. Martin, come on, it's time.
I think you're right. We'll start looking for a place tomorrow.
Yes.
Mr. Gray, you have Damon Durrell on line too.
Hey, Damon, what's up?
Martin, how are you, man? Hope you and your wife had a nice weekend.
I did. And thanks again for Friday night. Anna and I had a great time.
Listen, I have a very strange question to ask you.
Martin paused. What the hell did he mean, strange question? Their relationship was too fresh for any strange questions.
Okay.
Are you and Anna, by any chance, Stevie Wonder fans?
The limousine ride was fun. The concert was amazing. Having drinks with Stevie after the concert was incredible. But making love to his beautiful wife inside a hot, steamy shower at 2 o'clock in the morning? Priceless. Martin and Anna cuddled beneath the sheets on their king-size bed, both bleary with sweet exhaustion. Anna's head nestled on Martin's chest.
Well, this is what happens when you hobnob with power.
Guess I got a little carried away.
It was nice.
Anna pecked a surprised Martin on the cheek. Then she shut her eyes and drifted off to sleep. Cut.
The poker game in Damon's game room had been going on for hours, and Martin wasn't doing so well. Martin had started the game with $200 in chips, then watched helplessly as his stack dwindled down to a little over $20. They were several rounds in by now, and the competitive tension in the room loomed as thick as the lingering cigar smoke. When Martin lost yet another hand to Tobias, Carver shook his head in disgust.
Man, your game is weak. I mean, save yourself some time and just give Tobias all your cards.
Shit, I thought that's what I was doing.
It's his first time playing with us. Give the man a break.
Yeah, Carver. If I remember correctly, the first time you played with us, you weren't exactly Phil Ivey.
And he's still not. You're almost looking a little weak there, my brother.
Weak nothing. He's on life support.
Yeah, I just hope he paddles better than he plays cards, is all I'm saying.
Paddles. What does that mean?
Oh, David didn't tell you. My bad.
All right, what's going on?
We're planning another trip and we want you to come along.
Another trip? You mean rafting?
White water, yes. We always have a great time. Trust me, Martin, you will love it.
I don't think so. I told you, I'm a city boy. I'd be a complete klutz in the woods. Not to mention a raft.
Don't worry about that. We'll help you pick out the gear, give you some instructional books to read. We'll teach you everything you need to know. That's part of the experience, learning from your fellow men, trusting them, and eventually becoming a teacher yourself.
Yeah, we'll turn you into a real outdoorsman in no time.
I don't know, guys. It's just not who I am.
I hear you, brother. I really do. Before I went the first time, I felt exactly the same way. I didn't want to be anywhere I didn't have a toilet and cable TV. But let me show you something.
Kwame got up, grabbed the photo from the wall, and handed it to Martin. The photo showed Kwame and the others, dressed in hiking gear, standing at the base of a towering waterfall. They were all smiling, but the expression on Kwame's face was nothing short of elation, like he had just had some sort of religious experience.
That was taken after my first trip. Look at my face. That's the look of a changed man.
What you see in this photograph is much more than a rafting trip. It's a reaffirmation of our manhood. It's reconnecting to our roots. It's spiritual bonding. But most of all, Mark, it's freedom. Freedom like you've never felt before. This is our thing, something that we only do for us. And we are inviting you to join us, to be a part of our thing. And son, believe me when I say it, we do not extend that invitation to everyone.
Solomon's speech was a little sentimental, but Martin could tell that the old man meant every word. They weren't just inviting Martin on a rafting trip. They were extending their hands and inviting Martin into the fold, opening a door that did not open very often and would not stay open for very long. Martin realized that if he refused their invitation, he might still get invited to a poker game or a dinner party once in a while, but he would never truly be a part of that exclusive inner circle.
Won't badger you, son. Just let us know if you're coming or not by the end of the week.
You're going where?
As Martin recoiled, it occurred to him that maybe it would have been better to wait until after their dinner with Glenn and Lisa had concluded before breaking the news to Anna. Glenn was surprised by Martin's news as well, but his reaction was just the opposite.
Holy shit. That's big. When were you going to tell me?
They just asked me at the poker game the other night.
So, give me some details. Where, when?
In 2 weeks. We leave Thursday the 24th, return the following Monday, the Wenatchee River. It's in Washington State, somewhere outside of Seattle. That's where they always go. And get this, we're taking Solomon's corporate jet.
Nice. Now that's the way to travel.
Yeah, it should be fun.
I don't believe this.
Don't you remember our talk in the car? No crazy rafting trips. You promised.
No, I think my exact words were, I'm not interested in going. Can you actually tell me when I used the word promise?
Don't do that. You know I hate it when you do that.
Nothing drove Anna crazier than having Martin shift into lawyer mode during one of their spats.
Look, Anna, I'm sorry. I truly am. I knew you wouldn't be happy about the trip, but this is more complicated than it looks. When they invited me, I had to accept. I had no choice.
What do you mean you had no choice? You just say, sorry, no thank you. I prefer not to risk my life playing macho man in the woods. Next subject.
Sounds easy enough to me.
No. It doesn't work like that. Not with these men. When power brokers invite you on a golfing getaway or to go fishing or partake in any activity that takes up a great deal of their very precious time, that's when they're ready to talk business.
Exactly. Just try to think of this as a business trip.
A golfing getaway, I don't have a problem with. But this rafting business, I don't know. Martin, it's too risky.
Come on. Solomon is nearly 70 and Tobias is like 300 pounds. How risky can it really be?
I'm not married to them. I'm married to you. And you have to grow old with me. That's your duty.
It's just 4 days. I'll get a little wet and be back before you know.
Just promise me that you won't get yourself killed.
I promise not to get myself killed. And you got Glenn and Lisa as witnesses, so the promise is legally binding. I cannot break it.
Better not.
Then Anna rose from her seat and, with Lisa's help, she cleared the plates and went into the kitchen to get dessert. Martin turned to Glenn.
I hope you won't have a problem holding down the fort for a few days. When I get back, you can take a few days off.
Partner, I have an even better idea. Why don't you ask Damon if I can go too? I'm sure there's enough room in the woods for one more.
Martin's stomach suddenly felt like a hollow pit. This was the question he feared Glenn would ask.
I've been itching for something exactly like this. And it's the perfect way for them to get to know me better. What do you think?
Honestly, I don't think it's a good idea.
Why not?
Come on, Glenn. Do you really need me to spell it out? You wouldn't fit in.
It wouldn't fit in? Well, what the hell does that mean?
It means what you think it means. If we're going to do business with these men, everybody has to know exactly where they stand. I'm sorry, man.
A kaleidoscope of emotions played on Glenn's face. But before either man could say another word, Anna and Lisa returned from the kitchen with coffee and dessert.
Both of you need to hear this. Martin has just told me that I'm not welcome on his rafting trip because I'm white.
Is that true?
Oh, come on. Don't everybody act so shocked. These are hugely successful Black businessmen, the key word being Black. That makes them unique. That's the special bond they share. It's not like they dislike you or anything. It's just that this group is special. It's a Black thing.
A Black thing? Are you serious?
Yes, a Black thing. I don't know what else to call it.
What would you call it if a bunch of my friends didn't want you around because you were Black?
Well, that's completely different.
Oh, really? How?
It's different because of history. There's no shortage of rich white people clubs, believe me. Come on, Glenn. You can probably explain why it's different better than I can. You're just offended because it means that you can't go for a ride in Solomon's jet.
And you're right. It's different. I can't argue with you there.
Glenn got to his feet and turned to Lisa.
You should go.
Would you stop being so dramatic? Try to remember why I'm doing this for us, for the firm. You really think I want to go on a stupid rafting trip?
It's cool, Martin. Everything's Copa. I'm just not in the mood to sit here and eat cake with you. And listen, don't worry about the firm while you're off bonding with your brothers in the woods. I'll keep things running. No worries, partner.
The instant Anna shut the door behind Glenn and Lisa, she turned to her husband, shaking her head.
He's not just your business partner, Martin. He's your best friend.
Glenn will be fine. He understands. You heard him.
I heard him loud and clear. And if you think he's fine with this, then you didn't hear him at all.
Martin peeked out the living room window and frowned at the empty driveway. Martin didn't really expect to see Damon out there since Damon was due at 8 a.m. and it was only 7:47. But Martin was anxious and just wanted to get this party started already. Martin checked his watch, 7:54, and frowned out at the empty curb again. Then a thought occurred to him.
Where's Anna? Doesn't she know it's almost time?
Martin knew that Anna wasn't thrilled about the trip, but there was no way that she would let him leave without kissing him goodbye.
Would she?
At first, the YouTube rafting videos that Martin showed Anna really seemed to do the trick. For the last 2 weeks, Anna seemed fine. Her fears had been calmed. But last night, something had changed. While Martin packed his gear, Anna was quiet and sullen. When Martin turned from the window to call his wife, he found Anna standing directly behind him.
What's wrong?
I wasn't sure what to do. I lay awake half the night thinking about it.
Thinking about what?
I know how much this trip means to you. I really do. So I didn't want to say anything. But if I don't and something happens...
Anna, what are you talking about?
I found this on the internet yesterday. You should read it.
Damon's horn beckoned Martin outside.
Listen, couldn't I just read it when I get back?
No, you need to read it now, before you leave, please.
Martin frowned and took the printout. There was a photo of a bespectacled middle-aged black man beneath the headline, "Rider dies in tragic accident."
Anna, come on. I really thought we were past this.
Just read it, Martin.
The article was about a novelist named Donald Jackson, the man in the photo, who went on a river rafting vacation in Wenatchee, Washington, with some friends and drowned when their raft capsized. Now Martin could see what was so troubling to Anna. Martin had to admit that the coincidence was a bit disturbing. How many black men go on a river rafting trip to Wenatchee? But that's all it was, a coincidence. Martin tried to explain that to his wife, but she wouldn't have it. What Anna said next blindsided him.
It's them, Martin. Damon and his friends took that man on one of their crazy trips, and he got killed.
You can't really believe that.
5 friends? Doesn't that sound like them?
This says that it was a Class 6 river.
Maybe they were lost. Maybe they're lying to you. Who knows?
Anna. Just because this guy is black.
This guy? You mean to tell me you never heard of Donald Jackson before? Donald Jackson wrote a huge bestseller about 4 years ago. It was a big deal because it was his first book. They were going to make a movie about it and everything.
Okay, that sounds a little familiar. So what?
Doesn't Donald Jackson sound like someone that Damon and his rich friends would want to rub shoulders with? Young, black, up and coming. Sound familiar?
Anna, think about what you're saying. Damon, Solomon, Tobias, these men are famous captains of industry. If just one of them was involved in this accident, it would be national news. Hell, it would be international news. Do you see them mentioned anywhere in this article?
No. In fact, none of Donald Jackson's friends are mentioned. Don't you find that a little odd?
Martin scanned the article. She was right. The only name in the entire article belonged to the victim. None of the 5 friends were identified.
Sure, newspapers sometimes conceal the name of an accident victim to protect the family and all that. But why hold back the names of the survivors? I've never seen that. Why would they do that unless the survivors' identities needed protecting?
Martin stared at the article. He tried to remember the photos in Damon's game room, tried to recall if Donald Jackson's smiling face was in any of those photographs. No.
No, I don't believe it. Everything you said is circumstantial at best. This story can't have anything to do with them.
A prolonged horn blast trumpeted from the driveway.
Martin, let's roll. We got a jet to catch.
I hope you're right. But before you go anywhere with that man, I want you to ask him.
Damon Durrell stood at the center of the living room, reading the printout of the news article.
I'm sorry, but Anna found that and...
Give me a sec. Just letting Solomon know we're a little delayed. It's going to take me a few minutes to explain what really happened.
So I was right. Donald Jackson, he was part of your group?
This isn't easy to talk about.
Damon began by apologizing to Martin on behalf of the others and himself for not telling Martin about the incident sooner. He and Solomon and the others weren't trying to deceive Martin, Damon explained. The group just found it very difficult to discuss the way Donald died.
Did you all lie to him about how safe your trips are? The same way you lied to Martin?
We never lied to Donald or to your husband.
Well, class 3 rivers only, that's what you guys told me. Donald Jackson drowned in a class 6.
Donald Jackson never saw a class 6 river. We made all that stuff up about the raft capsizing. It never happened.
What?
Damon, what the hell is going on?
Donald had quick fame disease. The unholy trinity: drugs, gambling, and women. But worse than all that, he couldn't write. He'd been trying to write his follow-up book for years, but nothing. The whispers of what he'd wonder, all the bills piling up finally got to him. That's why he did it.
Are you saying that he drowned himself?
I'm saying in the middle of the night, while we were all asleep in our tents, Donald Jackson took a hike up to the top of a 300-foot waterfall and threw himself off to the rocks below.
My God, that's horrible.
I mean, Donald did have one hell of a dramatic streak. I guess that's what made him a good writer.
You know, I do remember reading something about the trouble he was having writing a second book, but honestly, I didn't even know he was dead until I saw that story.
Well, thanks to our very considerable influence, the story pretty much got buried. And what did get out was just our version.
That means that you guys had to lie to the police and the press. Did you do it to protect his reputation?
No. We couldn't do anything to help that kid's reputation.
Then why?
It's simple. If Donald had done something crazy like throw himself off a waterfall, that would have been suicide, and his insurance policy would have been null and void. But since he died in a tragic rafting accident, his wife and 2 kids collected a check for $2.5 million, tax-free, in under a week. I handled the whole thing for Mrs. Jackson, and of course, goes without saying, I did it all pro bono. We did what we did to help a friend. I hope that you two can understand, and more importantly, keep it in the family.
Of course.
He glanced at Anna and she nodded as well. The word family rolled so naturally from Damon's lips that he could tell it sounded right to Anna. That's what they were becoming in a way, Martin thought.
A family.
And families look out for each other.
What you guys did for Donald, that's amazing.
I'm just glad we got all this cleared up, okay? Everything I told Martin about our trips is true. We're strictly safety first. Scouts honor.
Oh, I feel so damn stupid. I was just worried, okay, about Martin.
Anna, please stop it. It's my fault for not telling Martin sooner. Friends? Man, kiss your lady goodbye and then hurry up. Carver's gonna freak.
Whoops.
Somebody's getting a spanking when I get back.
Keep talking like that, and I won't let you leave. Martin, wait. Doesn't mean you can forget your promise.
Never.
A Gulfstream G200 executive jet sliced across the crisp blue heavens at 550 miles per hour and at a cruising altitude of 32,000 feet. Below, puffs of sunlit clouds stretched to the horizon like a cotton field in the sky. Martin liked flying, and every time he had the opportunity, he went out of his way to book his flight early so that he would be guaranteed a window seat.
Martin noticed something odd outside his window. It was the sun looming slightly right of their flight path, almost directly ahead of the jet. He was no flight navigator, but by his calculation, the sun was in the wrong place. Martin pressed his forehead against the portal glass and peered downward. He tried to study the terrain, but the cloud banks beneath the jet were thick and never allowed more than a teasing glimpse of land. Even if he could see the land, how would that solve the mystery?
What's wrong with you? You see a gremlin on the wing or something?
No, actually, I was wondering about the sun.
It's hotter than hell. What else do you need to know?
Well, it's just, if we're traveling west, shouldn't the sun be on our left?
You pilot, Gray?
No.
A navigator, perhaps.
Nope.
Then how the hell can you tell that shit by just staring out that tiny window?
Martin did not like Carver Lewis. He remembered feeling an instant dislike for the young tycoon the moment he met him. 3 months later, Martin liked him even less. Martin decided that he wasn't going to take any of Carver's shit on this trip. Not even a little bit.
I'm just saying, west is west, and anyone with their eyes open can see that we're not flying west. Go on, take a look.
Carver's smile disappeared. He seemed uncertain as to whether or not he had just been insulted. After a moment, he cracked a smile and swiveled to face the others.
Guys, listen up. I think we have an emergency on our hands. Martin thinks the sun is in the wrong place. Go on, tell them.
Judging from the sun, it doesn't look like we're headed west.
Then where the hell do you think we're headed? The Twilight Zone?
The men continued laughing. Solomon rose from his chair, strolled up the aisle, and leaned over Martin to squint noseward out the window at the sun. He gave a surprised look.
You're right. The sun should be on our left. We'll probably make a course correction soon. The FAA approves all flight plans. Private aircraft rarely get a direct route.
I've never flown on anything except commercial airliners.
Well, my pilot is one of the best in the world. There's no need to worry.
The smirk on Carver's face gnawed at Martin like a dentist's drill.
I wasn't worried, just curious.
I think we should drink a toast to Martin's first flight on a private jet.
That's not necessary.
Bring the good stuff, Damon.
Damon nodded, then slipped behind the bar and removed a crystal decanter from an overhead cabinet.
You don't get a chance to drink the most expensive tequila in the world every day.
Damon handed Martin his shot glass last.
It's called Perfidion. It's delicious, but it really packs a punch.
Yeah, you might want to take itty-bitty sips.
Bullshit. A quick swallow, that's the only way. To Martin's first ride, may there be plenty more in his future. Woo! Now that's something.
Oh.
All right, you did good. You okay?
Yeah, great.
I think he could use another.
Absolutely. One more.
Martin found it difficult to even utter the word no. He waved off the offer of another shot and flopped back into his chair.
No more. Looks like he's had enough.
Martin heard the men chuckle, but strangely, their voices seemed far away. Martin felt his head swim and thought it was odd that one shot could have such a quick and potent effect. They did say it was strong, but he glanced out the window at the sun again. The fiery eye glared back and began to wink and throb and grow dimmer and dimmer. It was as if someone were lowering an enormous shade over that gazillion-watt light bulb in the sky.
Before Martin passed out completely, he turned in his seat and tried to speak. He tried to tell them that he was feeling sick, but there were too many faces staring at him, too many eyes. Then the world went black.
To be continued.
Tell me.